Mr. Chairman, welcome back to the program. It has been a while, but it's always good to see you. This new committee, the DOGE committee in Texas, is supposed to look for inefficiencies in state government and excess regulations that might be around and more. But here's my question. When I first saw this, Republicans have controlled state government in in Texas for 25 years. Why would there be any inefficiencies?
Shredder, that's a great question. First of all, thanks for having me on here. And I'm super excited, and all the members of the committee are super excited to be able to delve into this important topic. I mean, the reality is there's always an opportunity to improve the work that the government has, whether it's Texas or the federal government. Government gets bigger. And every now and then it's a time and an opportunity for us to look at what's happened, to see opportunities to make things more efficient, cheaper, faster, better.
We're watching what's going on in DC with Elon Musk's version of Doge on the federal level, and it's kind of a bloodbath of jobs up there. Are you expecting anything similar to that here in Texas?
I'm expecting significant improvements in how the state of Texas works, right? Where this committee has broad jurisdiction. We're going to be looking at waste, fraud, and abuse, right? We're going to be looking at opportunities to make not just government run better, but people's interactions with the government be more efficient as well. And so we're going to come in and we're going to look at a lot of different programs. We're going to look at a lot of different agencies. We have a 2-year appointment on this, so we're going to do some things quickly, but we're going to take the time. And what I would say is that this is going to be, for the 13 members of us, this is going to be a full-time job.
Waste, fraud, and abuse. Let me ask you, where do you start in Texas government, and what do you think you're going to find?
Sure. Now, so the interesting thing is, ever since I've been on this committee, which has only been a few days now, I've gotten so many tips, so many ideas. It's effectively become 1-800 whistleblowers. And what I ask the viewers and anyone else that works in government is send your ideas here. We've just heard of so many opportunities for us, and especially benefits and services, right? There's unfortunately people who take advantage of government services. And so we want to make sure that the people who are supposed to be getting access to it are able to get access to those services. But at the same time, we're going to stop some of these people who, some of them are organized crime rings, right, that are going and using and selling and reselling some of the benefits that our government has. We're going to look at agencies. We're going to look at regulation reforms. I mean,
What are some of the organized crime things you're talking about? I remember the DPS driver's license a year or two ago. What else are you hearing about?
no, we're just seeing people basically maybe taking advantage of money that the state gives, and they've started using those to sell and resell, sometimes in the open market, sometimes in the gray market. So we're going to be delving in all of those places where people are maybe taking these benefits, okay? And in some of this, we've heard about a while ago, okay, when it came to huge unemployment claims, when there's other things that the state has done. So we're looking forward to going after every single one of these people who is not qualified to be receiving them.
Mr. Chairman, I know you've only been in this position for a couple of days, though. Are you surprised at the response you're getting from people who say there is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse in Texas government?
Wow, a while back, I ran a poll to ask constituents how much they thought of their taxpayer dollars were being used or abused or wasteful. And the reality is most people know that there's some or a lot in some cases. And just talking to people on the street, just talking to people here at the Capitol or back home, there's a reason why this committee was formed, and it's because it is incredibly needed. And I am overwhelmed by just how many opportunities there are for us to fix things, but also how excited people are that finally someone is looking at this.
Will you be conducting and the committee be conducting forensic audits of each department, or just a handful of them?
So there's so many departments, so many agencies.
Right.
We're going to focus on probably the ones that we think that we'll be able to impact quickly at the beginning. That being said, we're looking at help from other people. Maybe we'd be able to hire a forensic auditor or someone who's very skilled at AI. I mean, the goal, in a way, is there's all this data, all of this information is available out there, but it just takes so many man hours to go and look for these little tiny outliers or maybe these inconsistencies in how things are being reported or how they're audited. And I think that with this committee, we'll be able to get some outside help and using artificial intelligence, forensic auditors, data analysts to be able to pour through all of this and help us hone in on where we need to focus.
Do you expect any state jobs are going to go away after your committee does its work?
I mean, the goal is for us to be able to make things more efficient, right? And so what we want to do is whether the agencies keep people or not is, but I know, and you all know that if you're able to use technology, okay, you're able to go and quite frankly, replace the efforts and the work that are being done by individuals and at a minimum augment it, right? Why have 10 people doing this one thing
Sure.
when maybe one person can do 10 times what they used to do? And so we're going to look at all of these new technologies, emerging technologies, new software programs to go and be able to just be able to multiply the efforts of individual employees.
It just sounds like, just reading between the lines here, that some state jobs could be in jeopardy based on the advancements of AI and the work you guys are about to start.
Listen, we're seeing that all over the U.S. I mean, there's report after report where artificial intelligence now is replacing people at an incredible clip. Obviously, our goal is to be able to go and find for the taxpayer the lowest cost opportunities to get at least what was done before, but even maybe better. So I think there's going to be, yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be places where there's opportunities for agencies to right size.
I've asked people on the federal level, I want to ask you too on the state level. If you find cost savings, which it sounds like you're likely to do, what's going to happen to the extra money that's in the state budget?
Well, I mean, hopefully, what you've seen that we've been able to do over the, last session, we do this session is we've been giving about half of the surplus that we have back to the taxpayers. And
Right.
so, my goal is to be able to get the taxpayers as much of their money back as possible, right? To return as much of the surplus back as possible, but also, of course, to make sure that these things that they expect from government, roads being built and all that kind of done, are not only done like they've always been done, but also be done more efficiently, right? I mean, all of us know that there's opportunities where if it costs a certain amount to build 10 miles and we're able to save money, maybe we could go and build additional roads. Maybe we could go and do other things. But I'm sure the goal for many of us is to return as much of it back to the taxpayers.
One idea
Keep
of
their money.
right. One efficiency idea you have, I believe, is potentially making digital driver's licenses here in this state. I just got my driver's license renewed, had to drive way up to a driver's license center. I waited for about a half hour so I'd fill out all this paperwork. What's your idea? How could you make things easier?
Yeah, and so it's good to put an actual use case, right? And it's kind of what we're talking about. So I'll be filing a bill, and I think it'll go through the committee, and the committee will work on, which is a digital driver's license, right? Some other states already have that. But think about the opportunity where, first of all, a driver's license is on your cell phone. Okay. Now think about when you have to go and redo your picture, for instance. Why go trek all the way to a building somewhere to go take a picture when you can just use your phone securely, in my opinion, more securely than a paper copy ever could. Less chance of losing a license and 100 times less chance of fraud, right? Now, when you're giving somebody a driver's license today, you're giving them that piece of paper that has a lot of information that they may not think is necessary. Well, think about the fact that maybe now you can keep all of that in your phone and only share the information that you have to do. So not only is it safer, more secure, more convenient and efficient, not just from the taxpayer's perspective, maybe we don't need all of these offices doing all of this stuff, but also, of course, more efficient in general.
A couple last questions here for you. I was talking to a couple of Republicans, and they mentioned this the other day. I hadn't really looked at it yet, but when I put the numbers together, it's kind of interesting. The state budget in 2023, you likely know this, you've been around for a minute, it was $251 billion. The current budget that the state is under right now, $321 billion. The next budget estimate hasn't been passed yet. You guys are just getting going on this, but it's $330 billion. And some Republicans were asking me, why is our own party growing government so much? What do you tell constituents who are hearing these numbers?
Sure. I mean, some of that is, of course, is for the first time, from the state's perspective, returning money back to the taxpayers is still technically an expense. So some of that growth is in
Like property tax relief is what you're talking about, right?
right. So property tax relief. I mean, so sometimes when you see that bigger number, I mean, think about last time I think it was about 15, 16 billion. This session, hopefully it'll be at least $10 billion. Those are technically costs to the state, but those are costs that I think all taxpayers are good with. But that being said, there is most of the money that the state does is checks to other groups, whether it's to ISDs or whether it's to contractors.
Yeah.
And the goal of this committee is to the extent we can let's stop bloating government. Let's just find those places where we can save money. And maybe it's an opportunity for us to pause on the spending and say, listen, we are able to do what we used to always be able to do, but maybe with less actual cash outlays. And that's a benefit to everybody. It really is. It's a benefit to the state to be able to do, provide those services, but it's also a benefit to the taxpayers, right? It doesn't really have to cost that much more. And the goal of this committee is to go and work on that as well.
Let me ask this question to make sure I understand. Under the past quarter of a century of Republicans in charge in Austin, has Texas government gotten too big?
Well, I mean, I think what has happened is Texas has gotten big, right? So many people have moved into Texas. Today, it's almost 1,500 people a day. So obviously, the government grows with population and inflation. And we've worked on things in the past few years, and we put them in just, I think, 4 years ago to limit the growth of government. So we now have today 5 different ways to limit the budget, with the last one being population plus inflation. So I think that's the metric we should use. I mean, however many years ago, there's probably less than half the number of people that are here today. But at the rate that we're growing, we're at 30 plus million already. So I think part of it has to do with just the massive number of people who want to be Texans.
And then last thing, in this new position of yours, what do you want to tell Texans about this? Because people are watching what's going on the federal side here, and they're probably seeing this and saying, wow, well, what's going to happen here in Texas when Doge goes to work here?
Yeah, well, we're focused on the taxpayer. We're focused on waste, fraud, and abuse. We are focused on transparency, right? We want every taxpayer to not only say, hey, they're going to cut and make things more efficient, but we're going to make it we're going to make it easier and more visible, so every taxpayer can go and see what we're doing on the committee, but also how their money is being spent. And the last thing I would say is we need your help, right? I mean, if you have tips, if you have ideas, just look me up, Giovanni Capriglione, look up the committee. Send us an email about where you think that we can cut costs.
Mr. Chairman, we appreciate the time, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you.